Hello and welcome to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 143. Little bit of a shifting gears from our last couple of episodes. Chris has got his hot water bottle. Chris is back. So last two episodes I recorded were with Arthur Kingdom talking through his career and time in American football and where he's going next. But this is a shifting gears, as I say, because this is getting personal. We're going to talk about something that we did, a challenge that we took on last year, which was an ultra marathon through the Brecon Beacons. So this isn't just going to be kind of like a recap of the distance and the pain. We're going to start talking about what happens to the body um, as you go through something as extreme as that, and what happens in the mind and the little mind games that you play along the way. So we're going to go through what it actually felt like, the highs, lows, why we did it probably, and then the mindset shifts that kind of kept us going and pushed us as far as we did. And then any lessons that we are going to take from it and apply it to day life and just go in harder and stronger than we normally do. So if you're up for pushing your limits and you want to dig into a bit more resilience, or maybe you just want to hear about me and Chris suffering in the mountains for no apparent reason whatsoever, other than we chose to and we wanted to suffer, then you are in the right place. So let's get stuck into it. Chris, welcome back to the podcast. Long time no speak. Can't believe we haven't spoken to each other since we last recorded because it's the only time that we talk, isn't it?
Yeah, otherwise I would never see you, never deal with you, never speak to
Yeah.
you.
Lots have changed since last time as well. Lots of things have gone on. Some big things, some important things, some major life events.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's been all kinds of different changes. We've got an extra member of the squad, extra member of the team. Technically, that means, well, you more than me, but are more responsible than you were, and you've been forced to mature again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, different
Yeah.
people. Hopefully, there'll be a noticeable change. Hopefully, we're more aware and a little bit
Yeah.
wiser, and probably not, but here we are.
I was going to say, for anyone that's a little bit unsure, I am now the very proud parent of a new Concept 2 bike, which I took delivery of yesterday. And I am absolutely thrilled over the moon to be welcoming that into the family. So, yes, we are very delighted with that. Anyway, we'll talk about the other thing later on at another
Has it
point
not
in
been
time.
announced? Do people not know?
No, 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 no. We'll talk. We'll talk
Ah,
about. Well, if they want to know about that, they'll have to keep listening to future episodes. So we'll get into that. We'll get into that next in a few episodes' time.
excellent.
Anyway, today the Brecon Beacons Ultra Marathon that we took on last year. Um, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I tried to forget about that one. I think we should start with where did you come across it? Because you originally came across it, right?
Yeah. So obviously, with playing American football, most of my year, most of my season is taken up with that. And there is very little time for anything else, let alone doing something that is completely off the other end of the spectrum. So, energy systems, physical requirements, training time requirements. It's very difficult to fit something like that in the middle of a season and without sacrificing too much in the way of football preparation. So,
Hang on a
um,
sec. Hang on a sec. It's very hard to find time to do something like that, regardless of any football seasons or anything. It's a big, big commitment and it's a big, long day.
yeah. That's fair comment. Fair comment. Um, so I'd already done an ultra marathon before, which I got roped into with a client. Alex, if you're listening, shout out to you for completing that. That was my first taste of it. So I've never run a marathon, but I have done two ultra marathons now. And the first one that I did was kind of I mentioned I got lured into it. It was after I'd broken my leg playing American football, and I kind of joked with her. I was training her for it, and she was going to be running it with her husband. And I said, "Look, I'll come and do it with you." And she was like, haha. We both kind of like laughed it off and carried on about our ways. Anyway, 2 weeks before the event, partner can't do it, injured. The ticket's going spare. Would you like it? Yeah. All right. Why not? So I did one training run of 7 miles in my Vivo barefoot training shoes on a treadmill. And
No,
then,
you
and then
colossal turd.
I got severe calf DOMS for a couple of days, and then we rocked up down in Hertfordshire in Tring. I think that's in Hertfordshire, I'm sure it is. And we did the ultra marathon. And then since then, I actually really enjoyed the day. I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed running it with her. Even though we spent very long time in the event, like miles away from each other, not seeing each other or speaking to each other at all, because it's very much you're in your own little bubble and you have to run your race. And I think I know she's the same, and I know you're probably the same. As much as you like to be social with people, it's hard to maintain that, and sometimes you've just got to get your head down and go. So we did that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought, you know what, I want to do one of those again at some point in time. And then this year, I'd got a bit of an itch that I really wanted to scratch at this point, and I thought, you know what, I want to do something that's really hard. And one of the things that actually motivated me was there was a coach that I work with. I'm very good friends with him, love him to bits. Stuart Gilmore, otherwise known as the Triangle, and he made a comment to me a while ago. I turned up to a GB practice with my dry robe. Bear in mind, dry robe was sponsoring me that, so they did, giving me giving me the kit and a few other things for specifically for GB, and I was wearing that because it's a lot of time standing around getting cold. And he took one look at me, and he's Scottish, and he went, "You've lost your grit." And honestly, that it pissed me off. It pissed me off more than anything. I was like, "No, I haven't. You have no idea." And I was actually thinking about that a few points through on the run, and I will let him know about this.
Wow.
So yeah, that was where my season had finished. I thought, "Do you know what? I'm up for a bit of a challenge." I think you doing your Ironman as well had kind of sparked something in me. It's like, "Do you know what? I do want to go and do something that's incredibly hard," because I thought what you did was inspirational. I was like, I'm going to feed off that and use that. So I had a look at some potential events. I just had a little look around what was going on, and then that one being specifically in the Brecon Beacons in November. That part of the country, that time of the year, the association that has with our special forces and our military in general. I thought, "Do you know what? It's a perfect place. It's a perfect time. It's a good distance to do. It's 50 miles. It's a step above what I'd done previously." I thought, yeah, I fancy it. Let's go. And offered you an invite, said, how do you feel about this? And away we went. We did two training runs together, one of which was a spectacular fail and didn't go to plan, but it was still good practice for mental resilience and fortitude. We can get into that a little bit. Um, and yeah, there we are. That was it.
Yeah, so I think for us, being the genetic material that we are, this was the way that I saw the Iron Man, and I'm sure I said this on my episode. Me and you are, I think, structurally very similar. Different people, but genetically, obviously, we're mainly the same stuff. And we are not endurance athletes,
No.
not by nature. We are, Alex is a kicker for GB, a kicker that requires, yeah, accuracy and skill, but it's a power based activity. American football is generally power based. We are strength and power athletes. And it's not like we put 5 to 10 years of running background and history in to do it. It's a case of switching completely from one extreme of what we both are comfortable doing, which is strength and power stuff, and then going the total opposite end, which is obviously very, very difficult. And there's going to be more wear and tear on the body. Does it mean we'll be able to excel at it? No. There'll be people out there who are going to be way better at that stuff. And there were, and there was, and there still is. Um, but yeah, we went to the opposite end and we found what we're about, didn't we?
We certainly did. We certainly did. I think if I mean, I say that we only did two training runs together. Um, I don't want anyone to kind of think that we were being naive or arrogant going into this. Like it had been something that I'd wanted to do for quite a while, and I think the way that we both live, we're very adaptable to being able to go and do something like that off the cuff at a moment's notice. Like we're both physically fit, we both look after ourselves on a regular basis. We're constantly out walking the dogs, running with them, on our feet all day with clients, and that's part of the difficulty of training for an event like this. Like having the engine and the ability to just be on your feet for 15 to 20 hours a day sometimes, which is a requirement. So um, I don't want people to think that we've done no prep just because we didn't do too many training runs. There's a ton of training runs that you've not seen that are just kind of mainly with the aim of just looking after ourselves and being fit, not necessarily directed at that event, but specifically for this event. The first run that we did, we went down to Holcombe Hill in Ramsbottom Bury, where we grew up. We met up there at what time was it? About half five in the morning, quarter to six in the morning.
Yeah, it was
It
early. It was
was
dark.
early doors. It was absolutely beautiful. It was dark, so we wanted to practice running in the dark. So this what it was conscious decisions leading into the preparation to make sure we ticked as many of the boxes as we could. Um, got out, went for a run, did I think we did over 10K out and then picked our way back through a different direction up over the hills. Um, and did it was over 20K in total in a couple of hours. So the pace was good. The pace was on target with what we were aiming for in the race. And then we got a good bit of exposure to the hills and practicing navigating, practicing using our watch and timing and GPS and etc. So that was all good practice. And then the second training run was a little bit more serious. So we took the time out to drive off into Yorkshire and we got stuck into the Yorkshire Three Peaks. Now, this is the one that did not go to plan. And when I say it did not go to plan, it went about as badly to plan as you could possibly hope for. So again, we got there early, met up early, so it was dark, practicing navigating a route that we're not particularly familiar with. We set off, we're storming up Pen. We're doing all right. The weather conditions were pretty rough to begin with. Like weather,
Cinematic. They were cinematic.
yeah, I think I said I recorded a little video and I said on the video near the top of Pen I was just describe it as weather is happening. It was cold, windy, and not just windy, but properly windy. Your dog Xena, she was scrambling away to climb up some of the rock faces on there as well. So that was a good bit of fun. We got up there, and then yeah, I don't know. Do you want to talk through a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, so as I recall, our pace was good going up Pen again. And even though the weather was bad, everything
The
was we
the
were
the, the only thing that I would say, so the pace was good. I did get a little bit concerned at Pen on the way, and I knew something wasn't quite right because you went quiet. And as soon as you go quiet, you weren't talking to me as much and you were dropping back a little bit. I thought, oh, is he all right?
yeah. Yeah. And I think on the way up I didn't think it was anything serious. But then as we came back down the opposite side, as we're coming down, like I really started to feel like pain on the underside of my foot. And I just assume it's like just wear and tear of the shoe against my foot and um it might just produce a blister. It's totally fine. I'll carry on. Let's try and hit the pace. And obviously, in my head, I'm thinking this is quite, like you alluded to, a crucial training run that really, for the timeline we were out of the way, it was a scheduled one that would have progressively led us to be able to hit the goal on the day. And my concern was obviously being able to hit that because it meant the rest of the thing and the actual thing on the day would be not easy but easier and achievable at the very least. Anyway, on the way down I can feel like a searing pain on the underside of my foot, and we carried on down Pen again, carried on going round, and I was like, okay, this is getting pretty bad now. And I don't recall how far we actually went, but there was a point where I was limping. I was literally like, it wasn't like an adjusted compensatory gait. I was literally limping, trying to keep all my weight. I'm trying to run specifically nowhere near the mid or back of the foot and just stay on the toes, which for a long distance isn't ideal, especially when you're wearing trail running shoes as well.
Particularly when you're going downhill, because you
Yeah,
you want to be braking and using sort of like your heel and your midfoot to kind of decelerate a lot of the time. So I remember this bit because we were making, like you say, we were making good pace. We got up there fast. We were coming down fast. We were on track for really, really good pace. And then I think after we'd had kind of like our first fueling breaks, this was the other thing. On these training runs, we're practicing fueling. We're taking on the energy gels, the bars, etc. Everything that we're going to practice and use through the actual event itself. We were practicing already. So this was a great opportunity for us to do that. And we're running with all the same gear that we were going to be having. So the same kit, same pack, everything was dialed in as well as it could have been. I remember after the first snap break, the weather started to clear up. We got down the backside of Penny again, and then
It was lovely, actually, wasn't it? The weather was
it
nice then.
it was absolutely spanking when we came down, when we got off there. And then when we got onto the main road, I remember was the first bit where I thought, yeah, you are really struggling.
Yeah, so you were maintaining the pace, and I was starting to drop behind you. And then I think I thought there was like I was just stepping improperly, and I could feel the stones underneath my feet. And it just felt like every time I was standing on something sharp and it was jabbing into the bottom of my foot. And it was probably a good 90 minutes of that went by, and then I started having to be like, listen, we need to walk a little bit. I'm gonna have to. We can't just run the whole way. I'm gonna have to start walking in between and doing intervals. Once that starts happening for a long distance run as well, by the way, if it's not scheduled, like it's not a good place to be. If you're having to do that as a result, it means something's gone wrong. So wasn't ideal. Alex was ahead. I was just trying to cling on at the back and having to walk, and so obviously the pace was dropping. Then probably another 90 minutes after that, I was like, right, okay, this is a joke now. Let's take a look at what's actually going on. I don't know why I'd not thought of looking. I think I had looked and not seen is what it was. But then it was as we were getting towards the second peak, and also we were going from running on the road, which was hard but smoother, back towards like I don't know what you call it, like rocky, almost marshy terrain, getting to go up the second peak. I'm like, hang on a minute, yeah, I'm gonna have to stop. My foot is not having any of this. So go to take a look, and there's essentially a stone caught. My shoe is basically ripped from the bottom to the sole that's carrying my foot in. And there's a stone like literally wedged underneath the arch of my foot, which is what I've been feeling. But my shoe is also torn. So literally, as I'm stepping on these stones, it's literally I might as well have just been wearing the barefoot shoes, which is a really, really, and it's not funny, but funny thing because the first time I went to do the Yorkshire Three Peaks, the same thing happened, but I was wearing barefoot shoes and I experienced the same problem. Whereas obviously this time I was wearing proper shoes, but they'd torn and it was happening again. Um, just obviously localized on one foot. So yeah, we got towards the base of the second one, and I was like, yeah, this is to the point now where carrying on is actually going to make me worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and I'm not going to be able to do the final thing. And I remember we had the conversation. I was like, I think I'm going to have to stop here before I really, really mess up my ankle. And you saw that, looked at me and was like, well, we're going to have to go at least 6 miles to get back to the car anyway, I think.
So just before I remember before that point, we got to the bottom of Whernside where you start to make the ascent, and we stopped off at a rock because I knew that pace was suffering at this point. Like we were down to a walk, weren't we? And you checked in your bag to see if you got any more trainers, and you hadn't.
Of course, I didn't.
Because I mean, why would you carry spare trainers? You just go with the footwear you've got, don't you? It's
Ironically,
just
I had two pairs in the car.
yeah. But anyway, they're in the car. Like you don't normally take them with you. That's it. So I had no problems with it. And then I think I said to you, I was like, right, are we good to go? Are you good to carry on? And you were like, yeah. You were like, I'm gonna grit through it and we'll go. And then as we're walking up Whernside, I'm trying to push you along a little bit. I was trying to do things to cheer you up, lift the morale, and I could see I was failing miserably. And it got to the point where people started to walk past us. And I was like, yeah, this is not good. And I started to get a little bit like, oh, fucking hell, like, come on, we need to have a think. Like, we either need to go or we need to turn back. And then it got to a point where I think you said to me, you were like, I'm gonna have to call it. And as soon as you said it, I was like, okay, let's go. And I remember I timed the walk back from the point where we made that decision back to the crossroads. And the pace we were walking at was about a kilometre an hour. And we got down to the crossroads, and this was where we then had the conversation to talk through the options because our options were limited. Right? It's still early in the morning at this point. There is a pub further up the road where they frequently, give people lifts back to the start that don't complete the full Yorkshire Peaks because the second peak Whernside loops back round to the pub, and it's kind of like it's a nice little refuge point, and that's where a lot of people tap out anyway. And I was like, right, that's not going to be open, so that's not an option. It's not going to be open for a good few hours yet, so we don't need to worry about that. Said there's a train station up there. Don't know when a train's running, and I haven't got signal on my phone, so I can't check a timetable, and I'm not going to run up there to find out. There's no other way for us to necessarily get a lift. And I think that we made the decision. I said to you that the best thing to do is for me to run ahead, get the car, drive back, pick you up.
Yeah.
So I took the dog, I took Xena, ran back to the car, and I was a bit pissed off at this point because I was like, of all the places you could have turned back, you pretty much chose the fucking halfway point. Like we couldn't have been much further away. And then ended up running back along the road, which was a horrible run because it's kind of like it's not like you're even up at the top and you're exposed for a little bit. You're like you're exposed the entire way with wind blasting through at you. You got cars coming past at like 60 miles an hour. I was like, this absolutely sucks. And also I didn't know exactly how far it was. So I knew it was it about 6 miles? So I said to you, I was like, right, it's going to take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how hilly it's going to be. And it's just constantly winding round. So ran back, got the car, drove to pick you up. And you'd covered a decent bit of ground, to be fair to you, to get back to the car. But I remember finally picking you up and just thinking, yeah, that that did not go well as a training run. Good
No.
practice for resilience, though.
Yeah. It was the total opposite, wasn't it? It wasn't productive in any training sense other than just being in pain. Just being in pain and figuring out how to do something when there's not many options. That was all that was available to us. And ultimately, it meant obviously I had bad feet, bad ankles for the next few weeks, which scuppered my runs, and meant I was going into the actual thing unfit as well.
Well, because
So,
it was only about 2 weeks before the event.
yeah,
Because we kind of earmarked that as a point for peaking, for testing the pace and everything that we are going to do. And then the week after, we had family obligations, and you were like, "Oh, let's do it next week instead." I was like, "No, we can't. We haven't got time. Like, we've got no time over that weekend, and if we do it any later than that, then we're going to be absolutely dead by the time we get to Wales." Um, that's what I remember from the preparation, anyway.
yeah, yeah, poor prep really. But poor because of obviously that didn't go well, and it meant that we were going to be scuppered for actually, like you said, like peaking and then tapering into the actual event on the day. Um, but we still chose to carry on. I think I did one treadmill run just to test
Yeah, you did.
pain. So I'd seen a physio and had a couple of people take a look at my foot and ankle, and I don't remember specifically what they diagnosed, but they were like, if you feel okay running on it, then like keep a steady pace, you might be okay. But you're looking at doing some longer term damage. Um,
I've got your actual notes here from the physio. So you said you've got a poorly foot and ankle. Can't tell what the damage is without an actual scan, of course, but suspected Achilles tendinopathy and some perineal damage. Um, So
I
yeah,
thought you
you
were
were.
saying ACL damage there. I was going to say.
I nearly did. It's yeah. I'm running on fumes. So yeah, yeah. Achilles tendinopathy and perineal damage. So you weren't in the best condition leading into it. How did you actually feel like 2 weeks out when you'd kind of got that assessment from the physio and after that run? How
I
did you
didn't think
feel?
I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, and I didn't think I should have done it either.
Mm,
I thought, like, when they said it, I was like, this is one of those things where it's like you've got an opportunity to crack on and get it done, but it will come across as a bit stupid, and you might do damage, but then again, you might not. And I remember having this conversation with Ali. I was like, I need to figure out, is it worth it for me? Is it worth it to do it? And for me, one of the parts of it was that I'd said I was going to do it, so I was going to do it. And if I don't know whether it's going to make it worse or not, then there's only one way to find out. And I remember saying this to you. I was like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to start. And worst case scenario, if it's genuinely a problem, um, I'll just tap out.
mm,
Like the same way I did in the training run. Like I had no problem with that.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that was it. And I remember saying to her, I was like, you know what? If I do get it done, if I do go and I do finish it, it'll be a really good story.
Mm,
And yeah, I thought absolutely it's worth it to rock up at the start line and at least give it a go. And if
yeah.
it is genuinely really bad, then I just stop.
Any regrets?
Yeah, I shouldn't have rocked up at the start line. No, honestly, I think I wasn't fit, and that's why I didn't finish. And it wasn't my foot that stopped me. It was the injury to my foot that meant I wasn't fit, and I couldn't hold the pace. I could not hold the pace,
Yeah,
and there was obviously previous wear and tear on the ankle. I'd not been able to train properly. I'd not peaked, and therefore I was ill prepared.
yeah.
No, do I regret it? Don't regret doing it. I regret my shoes.
So yeah, just to be clear, you started the event and then it was 2 laps of a specific route, and like you said, you were suffering with your foot, suffering with your ankle, and there were cut-off points as well. And then it was that halfway cut-off point that you didn't make it to in time, did you? So they weren't up for letting people carry on after that because they hanging around in the mountains in Wales. I think they lost. Someone got lost as well. Anyway, that was just doing the shorter version, the shorter marathon. So I think you still did the 26 miles with a couple of the big mountains in between. So it was still, and considering the damage that you'd already done and the condition you were in on the start line, I don't think there were two people. I mean, it's probably fair to say we looked at a place, didn't we?
Yeah, so this is something I wanted to draw attention to because it looked like we were the only people that had read the briefing. Like we were there with not big. I mean, your rucksack was bigger than mine, but like not big rucksacks. But we had all the kit we'd been told to bring. We had like jackets, and you had to have extra clothing in your bag, and like waterproof and fireproof bloody safety blankets and stuff. We were the only people that looked like we'd got quite a bit of gear. Everyone else was in like shorts and a t-shirt,
Yeah. I've got
pair
to
of
admit,
sticks.
I don't know how some of those people packed what they were supposed to pack into those
There's no way. There's
things like
no
that.
way.
That's because I do want to do some more events, and if I'm going to do them, I need to know how they've crammed so much into such a small thing, because obviously they would carry everything because it'd be against the rules, and you would get disqualified if you weren't carrying everything. I mean, to be honest, like with the whole rucksack situation, my whole idea behind it was the only way that I'm not going to finish is if I don't take enough fuel, if I don't take enough liquids, if I don't take enough food, if I don't have enough energy to keep me going with those things, and particularly hydration, then that's what's going to do me in because someone's going to stop me and try and pull me out rather than me being able to carry on. So I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to take everything that I need, and I sweat a lot. So I was like, I need the electrolytes, I need the energy, I need the energy gels. And by the way, the energy gels are bloody heavy. Like they add up. Like they add a fair bit of weight when you rack them all in together. Um, so yes, we were certainly out of place. I remember. Do you remember driving down the night before? And I said to you, right, we've got 50 miles to go. Just reference this. This is how far we're going to be running. We've got 50 miles from the point we're at now to get to the hotel. And it was like over an hour of driving at 60 miles an hour, like more or less 60 miles an hour on those country roads.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, yeah, it's a long way.
I remember thinking that it's just a long walk. I remember thinking to ourselves,
That-
like the
That's
very
why,
worst case
that's,
scenario, it's just a
that's
long
why you
walk.
didn't get to the cut-off in time then, isn't it? Fucking
Yeah,
hell.
yeah. But I remember saying to myself, like, worst case scenario, like the pace and the cutoff, I didn't think it was that harsh.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I could walk it. Like, if it genuinely gets that bad, we can just walk it. And obviously, I'd done the Ironman. I was like, well, it's probably going to be a similar amount of time to that. And I'm not going to drown. So it's not going to be so bad. Anyway, it didn't work out that way. It didn't work out that way. How did it? So, other than obviously feeling out of place at the start line, Did you feel prepared? Did you feel ready?
I felt special. So I wouldn't say I felt out of place and like I didn't feel uncomfortable. Like I was looking around thinking, do you know what? I'm a unique person in this environment right now. Like obviously with yourself as well. Um, I thought I look very different to everyone else,
Yeah,
but I know that something like this isn't about how you look. Like I wasn't turning up there to try and win it. That was never going to happen. My whole idea behind it was I want to test myself. I want to push myself. I'd like for us to both finish it. I'm going to get the chance to do something mint, difficult, challenging alongside my brother. Um, I just thought I'm going to give it everything I can. I am going to suffer at points, but I want to see what I'm made of. I want to see if essentially it's like everything like we've spoken on this podcast. We're on episode 143. We preach the same things constantly. It's work rate, effort, intensity, resilience. It's mindset. It's having control over what goes on in your own head to be able to execute what you need to do with your body physically. And essentially, it's a way of going, right, can I do it? Can I actually do everything that I preach? And it was a good little test. That was the whole part of it. And when you do really difficult things, you learn things about yourself. You understand yourself, you see things differently, you get a whole new perspective, and yeah, it changes the way that you view things. And yeah, I think on the start line, it was always interesting. I had the same thing on my first ultra run. I turned up to the start line, big rucksack, surrounded by lots of tall, skinny people, and thought, fucking hell, like this is different. And I just remember thinking, that's all right. I'm here to run my own race. It's fine. And it was interesting. Like on the first lap, there was a bit where we got split up from each other after we'd gone the wrong way and we were coming back to get back on track. There was a lad running behind me, caught up. Well, he didn't catch up. No, we were like we'd gone like everyone had gone the wrong way, so we're all coming back, and he was running with me. And he said to me, he was like, "Oh, it's a big bag, that. It's a big rucksack." And I just remember thinking, "Fuck you! Like, what are you trying to put me off for? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even if it's an innocent comment, when someone, if you wanted to get into someone's head and cause them a little bit of doubt, you might say something like that. You might
yeah,
say, "Ooh, that looks heavy, that." Or you might go, "Ooh, are you sure you've got enough water?"
yeah,
Or like just anything you can, just like not to like dig at them, not to go, "Oh, you're slow or you're fat or anything like that." It's just, oh, that looks a bit heavy. And then in your own head, if you go, oh yeah, I think it might be a bit heavy. I'm not sure, can I do the full 50 miles with this? But my instant reaction was, fuck you. And then I looked at him, I didn't say it, but I looked at him and I also thought, at least it's not you carrying it, buddy. I'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I just said to him, I was like, yeah, I just want to make sure I've got enough water and enough fuel. I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just said to him, I'll be all right.
That which is the right way to say, because you're right, because I think a lot of people, because he's not specifically stated what he means, like people's mind will fuck with them with a comment like that. They'll be like, what's his point? What is his actual point? And it will people will fixate on that comment and that person rather than carrying on running the race or doing what you did, which is like, you know what, I'll fucking show this guy.
But,
Um,
the other thing was as well, like, was I know you mentioned there, like, what do you mean? I wasn't going to ask him for clarity. I wasn't going to go, what do you mean?
no, don't
I,
engage. Yeah,
I already knew it was heavy.
yeah,
Like the bag being heavy for me was never a problem. Like
yeah,
I'm strong enough. I'll run with it. Like I've done runs with my weighted vest that weighs 30 kilos. I've done 10Ks with that. I've done more than 10K with that. Like I'm perfectly comfortable moving with a lot of weight over a long distance for a long period of time. That doesn't bother me one jot. Um, so yeah, he was never going to piss me off. It'd be interesting to see as to whether he actually finished or not, but I don't know his name. Don't remember his name, unfortunately. I should have got chat to him. I know he was from Huddersfield. So if you were on the Brecon Beacons Ultra in November last year, 2025, and you're from Huddersfield and you made a comment to me about the size of my bag, get in touch. Let's get you on the podcast. It'd be good to have a little chat with
You'll
you.
have to, we'll have to another point. You'll have to explain him to me, and I'll have a think because obviously I saw a lot of the people coming in after me, who obviously hadn't hit the cutoff. So I recall a lot of those. There was on the first lap, just to go back. Obviously, when we started, obviously we were physically a little bit different to the others anyway, and we'd got our specific plan, our pace we were going to go at, and we were quickly at the back, like the very back, weren't we? Everyone else has gone straight ahead. We're on the canal path, and it was when we got to the first hills that weren't even labelled as like they didn't even have names. They weren't important, but my God, it was outrageous. Do you remember the group of lads that we were going past up there?
Yes. Yeah.
So those boys, I think there was a group of three, and then there was another group of three. They finished just after I finished the first lap. Sorry, they finished their first lap just after me on the first. But that hill, I don't know how we would describe it to people. I feel like we need to put it into perspective what actually that was like.
Well, she called it a cheeky climb in the
Yeah.
briefing. She
Oh
called it a
yes,
cheeky
yeah, yeah.
climb. She called it a cheeky climb. So what we'll do is 'cause we are running tight on time today, so I'm just going to drop a couple of little teasers in for the next episode, so you come back and listen next time. So because it does get interesting. When we set off, I don't know if you remember, so you're on. Basically, they've set the rules, they've set the route, and she said, right, first lap slightly longer than the first. When you get back, you've got to run around the field to make sure you get the full distance. So you do complete the definite 50 miles. So it's like, right, sound. And they make you set off the same way. So you run around the field. And I remember they let us go, they set us off. And you mentioned about us being very quickly at the back. I just set off walking. I just set off walking. Like I would rather be at the back and then pick my way through. And the funny thing was, I thought I'm going to set off walking. I'm going to make sure my watch is working. I'm going to make sure that the route is correct and it's programmed in, which it was. And I'm going to make sure I've got the correct screen on it that I want to see all my data and track everything from there. So I thought, right, I'm going to use the first few hundred meters to get my shit together and then just ease ourselves into a bit of a warm up and get moving. Anyway, the funny thing was about that, everyone sets off running, and then everyone gets around the field, quickly gets to a bottleneck at the canal where it's literally one person through at a time. I just cut, just walking pace, caught up to the back of the group anyway, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'd not lost any time, we'd not lost any ground. It was just, it was what it was. But there were a few very interesting things that happened along the way. We mentioned about the cheeky climb. Went past a few people who were in tears. A couple of a couple of the elite marathon runners that just blew my mind when I saw them running. Um,
Oh, they were running down.
the only way they could have got down that mountain quicker is if they threw themselves off the top.
Yeah. Oh,
It
that
was
was outrageous.
unbelievable to see that, and that's what it's like at the elite end for that. So, but they only did 26 miles. They only did one lap. So,
Also, a story that people will need to hear next time is the poor chap that thought he was at the top of Penny Fan and at a checkpoint.
that honestly was one of the highlights of my day. I absolutely love breaking that news to him.
Uh,
So yes, we will inform you of that, and then um, we'll talk through your experience of the event, and then we'll get into what it was like on the final lap round, especially in the dark where you can't see shit. So
we also need to go through like a cluster of 30 people getting lost. That's another one.
yes, yes, that was very interesting. Almost as interesting as me getting lost in the dark twice on my own on the second lap.
Yeah.
And chasing checkpoint times as well. That was interesting. So lots to go through in the next episode. We will definitely dump that on you next time out. We're back again next week with another one. So keep your eyes and ears peeled and low to the ground. And until then, keep practicing all the good habits that we always preach, always talk about. Go after your day with intensity and resilience, and get stuck in. Enjoy yourselves. Chris, final word goes to you.
Yes, it was good to be back. Thank you for listening. Carry on listening, carry on paying attention, and spread the good word.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll speak to you again soon.